Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to OpenLine. This is our special segment we do the fourth Thursday of every month called Ask a Lawyer. I'm here with Kevin Kennedy. We're taking your phone calls. The number's at the bottom of the screen, 737-PLUS or 737-7587. And, of course, the phones are lit up. So
They're all lit up. We love it.
All right, line one is Mandy. Are you still there, Mandy?
Yes, hi.
Hi.
Good evening.
My question is, what are the requirements for the dissolution of an incorporation in the state of Tennessee?
Well, first off, the people who are the president or the shareholders have a right to vote, have a meeting, and they can pass a resolution and say that we move on this day that this will be dissolved. And so that resolution could then be filed with the state. Notice is given, and that would be the end of the corporation. And so if there's assets, they would go to those shareholders. But most of the time, that's it. It's a very simple form. Usually what happens, people just stop doing business, it wasn't making any money, and they don't even file the resolution.
Yeah, I think it's important to point out, too, that a lot of times, it's a question we get quite a few times as lawyers, but, if you have some people have agreements, operating agreements, you know, and if you don't have an agreement that governs how your corporation, is formed or dissolved, then you got to go to the big green books, and you might not like how that turns out. So it's definitely a question I think you need a lawyer for.
Yeah, usually when you set up the corporation, there's articles in there on the procedures that you would follow, so keep up with those original articles and move from there.
All right, on line 3, we have Hiram. Are you there, Hiram?
Hi, Nick. Hi, Mr. Kennedy.
Nice to hear from you, Hiram.
Thank you. I got a comment and question for both of y'all. The comment is, what was y'all's opinion of Mr. John J. Hooker? And the question was, since the lawyer that passed away in Murfreesboro, he did the Moss case, and there was a death case he took on. And since he passed away, how would that case go about since he is no longer here to handle that case? And another part of that, other cases had like murder cases, and one person got out of jail, and another person is in jail, and they got 30 years. How can a person murder someone and they get out of jail? No, I ain't gonna listen. Thank you for taking my call.
Well, John J. Hooker was an absolutely classic, colorful man. When I was in grade school, John J. Hooker ran for governor, and he had a real cute tune, "Vote for John J. is a vote for you." And as I got a little older, I said, well, hey, that might, I started singing the song, "Vote for Kevin K." And, but John J. Hooker, I got to meet him, and he's a man of principle, stood on constitutional rights, and we need a guy that would stand up and fight for the little man and take these issues that others wouldn't take. The question comes, he's passed away. What do we do now? Well, first off, the court would then entertain someone else taking that over. We have lawyers that file motions to withdraw, or for whatever reason, if he is deceased, then leaves the door wide open for the court to appoint and assist and move forward through that. So, you could pass away tonight, and your cases will ultimately go to someone else, and mine likewise would too. Usually the local bars assist when something like that happens. A lawyer disappears or a lawyer's disbarred and they have clients. The local bar would take over and help assist those clients get representation to try to protect their interest.
Well, and I thought, I've met John J. Hooker on a couple of different occasions, and, I think that he's kind of larger in life in certain senses. And, sometimes doing what's right and standing up for social injustice is not the popular thing to do.
Absolutely.
It doesn't make you popular in your church, amongst the bar, amongst the community, with the judges. But if no one stood up for social injustice like that or what they thought was appropriate, then we would never have change.
Right.
So
well, it still makes us proud to be lawyers, because the truth of the matter, lawyers stand between the little man. The little man has no justice without a lawyer who will advocate for him. So,
and I think, as it pertains to when like a lawyer dies or something like that, there's a lot of times where, let's say that somebody has already paid me to represent them.
Yes.
And it's no fault of their own that I died. Well, you count on your friends, and so somebody could call Kevin and say, hey, Kevin, that they've already paid Nick, but there's no money there. But would you help Nick and his estate out and his family out by handling the case? And lawyers do help each other out like that.
They do. There's also a fund with the state at the bar that can also help.
I didn't know that.
It sure is. It sure is.
Okay. So interesting. All right, great question. Let's see here on line 4 we got Tess. Are you there, Tess? Okay, maybe we don't have Tess here. Let's see. Lola is on 5. Good evening, Lola. Are you there?
Yes, hi.
Hi,
Hey, how are
good
you?
to talk to you. Go ahead with your question.
I had a contract with a butane gas company, and I canceled it. So, do I have the right to move their tank and then get another tank moved in here?
Okay, here's what I would say on that. Go back and look at your original contract, because it usually has the terms on whether you can remove that or not. Before I moved their tank, I would try to read my contract. If I couldn't find that, I'd ask for a copy, and once I got that, I'd read it and see what it said. Otherwise, I like the old saying, a good understanding keeps down a misunderstanding, and I don't really want to take on the liability of cutting those lines if there was still gas in there. So I would try to get them to come pick up their tank. I'd call them. If that didn't work, I'd send them a letter, and then I'd send them a certified letter, and if they were just giving you a hard time, I'd call the lawyer and say, will you help me get rid of this tank so we can move on?
You know, I recently had a lawsuit like that at General Sessions Court over a propane tank, and that's exactly, what I told the guy. They wanted to move it out. I said, no, I better not do that.
Right.
Definitely don't want to do that until you find out.
Well, I like to take the cautious approach many times. And and I'm a landlord and have propane tanks and all kinds of issues.
Well, and if and people look to their lawyer to get advice. If you give the wrong advice, a lot of times they get.
That's why so many people, lawyers say, well, I'm not sure, because they want to get retained to look at the law to make sure they can give you an opinion they can feel good about and you can feel good about.
Well, it's just like the doctor. If you go to the doctor, you're diagnosed with some sort of cancer or something. How long do I have? Well, maybe this, maybe that. Depends on what you do. A lot of times people come to lawyers and expect us to have just the quick answer.
Right.
And it's kind of like doctors, that sometimes we can just give you all the facts that we have for you to make the best decision possible.
And I love it when, just like our firm, questions come in, and I said, well, excuse me. They said, where are you going? I said, I'm going to ask another lawyer's opinion.
That's right.
And I like to hear. And, in our office, we have a rule down there, if it's something that's really important, we don't move till we've talked to at least 2 other lawyers. So if it's critical, so then there's 3. And, one time you'll tell me one thing, you'll tell me something, I don't feel good. I didn't say I'll follow what you say. I did say I will listen to what you say, and then I'll make my own decision.
Well, and there's really no substitute in this line of work for experience.
The Bible says the wise seek the counsel of others.
That's right. All right, let's see here. On line 6, we have Mary. Are you there, Mary?
Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening. Yes, I was talking to you just a little bit ago, and I got hung up on.
Oh, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
we're sorry.
But anyway, I was talking to you about my Social Security.
Yes, ma'am.
But anyway, let me start all over again. But I'm considered 100% disabled. But they told me that when I reached the age of 50, that I'd be able to draw my husband disability, since my husband died in 2000. He served in Gulf War. He served Gulf, and he was there during the Gulf Shield and the Gulf Storm, which at that time I also served. I was serving as at that time it was called the Tennessee Defense Force. Now it's called the Tennessee State Guard.
So your question is, can you draw on his disability? Is that your question?
Yes, but they told me that the VA told me I couldn't. The VA told me that I could not even see anybody in the VA. And I told them that I was even, I even served. I was an MP.
Right. Well, there's kind of a couple of issues here. One is the Social Security Administration, and so you have a right to file there and see what benefits are available to you there. And it's always worth something to go in and talk to one that's advertising for Social Security benefits. And now this situation deals with veterans benefits, and that's a whole nother governmental agency. So many times people say, Kevin, this is the law. Well, it gets into interpretation. I'll tell you some techniques that I have used over the years. In a close call, sometimes I'll talk to this person that works at the VA, and then I'll call back and talk to another. And when you're getting two different opinions, wait a minute, guys, and we have that same problem dealing with the IRS, because one guy may not even know what the existing law is. So veterans benefits have become a very hot and popular subject, and if you call and you're turned down, then why don't you try to call again and see if you get a same answer or a different answer. And then, but the best advice is always get a lawyer that is familiar with veterans benefits and pursue it.
Well, in a lot of those benefit cases too, lawyers will take that on a contingency fee.
Yes.
And so you won't have to pay anything up front necessarily to talk to somebody and have them evaluate your case. So that's the good part about your problem, is that people will pick up the phone and talk to you for free.
Yes. Excellent. Thank you for calling.
Yes, ma'am. Let's see here. Myrna is on line 7. Good evening, Myrna.
Yes, I spoke with you about the debt collection situation.
Yes, ma'am.
You answered my question, except for the last part about what your feeling was about an attorney soliciting business.
Yeah, I'm glad that you. I'm sorry, I forgot about that. First off, you know, lawyers are really not supposed to go out and solicit business. Now, they've relaxed the laws. When men's ideas and values change, the law changes. As a general premise, lawyers are not supposed to go out and solicit. So what is solicitation, or what is a billboard, or what is a commercial? So there's a lot of fine lines, and there's lots and lots and lots of cases that deal with those issues. But the basic premise is exactly where you've identified it, and I'm always a little skeptical about someone saying, hey, I want to represent you on this. Well, what is this all about? You and I have talked about that too, Nick. So it's a great question. Thank you, ma'am.
No, it is, and I tell you, in my practice, I'll get a little shy about the whole situation. A lot of times, people will call and say, "Hey, Nick, this person wants you to call them, or they have a legal, why don't you give this person a call?" And I always say, no matter who it, no, they need to call the office, or they need to call me and ask me to call back. I still want to make sure that I don't make any mistakes there. So.
Yeah, and it's good, and they've given lawyers sometimes, well, he's an ambulance chaser. What does that mean? Well, there's a wreck, and there's a lawyer out there passing cards. Well, that's clearly unethical. You can't do that, and you shouldn't do that.
That's right. Okay, on line 1, we've got James. Good evening, James. You there?
Yes.
Go ahead, James.
Yes. My question is, because of my mother's medical condition, I'm the personal caregiver for my mother, and in the past I have went with her to file her yearly taxes, but because of her medical condition at this present time, she's unable to do so. I do have a POA on her. So my question is, how do I go about filing the taxes for my mother? Because once again, she's medically incapacitated at this time.
Okay, well, you're always dancing a jig. And we were talking about this. What about the POA? Do they have to be honored? Some gray areas there. And when we look at that POA, is it a durable power of attorney? What does that mean, Kevin? What that really means is that it could actually go beyond a person becoming incompetent and unable to do their business. So I like to look at that. And if you're not sure, if you're listening tonight and you're not sure of the interpretation of the power of attorney that you have, go get one now while they still have mind enough to give one to their child to help. Now, there's also a medical power of attorney. There is a durable power of attorney. There's specific powers of attorney, limited powers of attorney.
That's right.
So again, what do you have? What do you need? It's not that expensive. Go work on that. That's important. For this gentleman, I would say if you've got the durable power of attorney, you can go file the taxes, attach a copy of that with it, and the odds are great that it'll be honored. And we deal with this all the time with banks and say, hey, I've got this big check and I've got a power of attorney, I want to do this. Well then, banks get scared because they don't really know. Power of attorneys can be one of the greatest friends that a family can have.
Yeah, but it's worth what you pay for if you get on the internet and just download a document.
I'm scared of it. I'm scared of it.
So.
And you say, well, Kevin, this is free. And then Nick would say, well, you get what you pay.
That's exactly right. And folks, if you're staying on the line here, we'll be right back to take your phone calls. You can go ahead and call in. We've got a couple of open lines here at 737+, 737-7587. We'll be right back to take your phone calls with Kevin Kennedy.